What happens when a decade obsessed with explosions, sequels, and flashy heroes quietly ignores its darkest stories? The 1980s didn't just give us loud hits, it buried slow, eerie, supernatural films that didn't shout for attention. These movies whispered, they unsettled, and they slipped past audiences chasing spectacle. Halfway through this list, one title hides a moment so calm and strange that most viewers miss how disturbing it really is. Stay close. These films don't rush you. They wait. Number 15, The Guardian, 1990. This one arrived too late to be saved. By the time The Guardian appeared, the blockbuster machine had already decided what horror should look like. Bigger, louder, easier. This film refused all of that. Directed by William Friedkin, the same filmmaker who once redefined fear, The Guardian tells a quiet suburban story that slowly turns unnatural. At first, everything feels safe. A well-off family hires a calm, capable caretaker. She's polite, professional, almost invisible. But the film understands something crucial. True unease doesn't announce itself. It blends in. Small choices start feeling off. The tone shifts. The house feels watched rather than haunted. What makes The Guardian fascinating is restraint. There's no rush to explain, no flashy payoff. The horror creeps in through atmosphere and implication. Friedkin focuses on routine turning unfamiliar, the kind of fear that makes you second-guess everyday comfort. Audiences at the time didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't funny, it wasn't fast, it didn't follow trends, and because of that, it was quickly dismissed. Now, viewed away from marketing noise, it feels like a warning about trusting appearances. A reminder that the scariest things don't chase you. They wait patiently for you to stop paying attention. Number 14, The Believers, 1987. This film scared studios more than audiences. The Believers dives into the idea that a modern city can hide very old secrets without ever looking strange on the surface. Set in New York, it follows a man pulled into a hidden world, operating quietly behind polished offices and polite smiles. What makes the film stand out is seriousness. It doesn't wink at the viewer. It doesn't soften its ideas. The story unfolds like a mystery, but every answer makes things feel less stable, not clearer. Ordinary places suddenly feel layered, like there's another version of the city just out of sight. Martin Sheen plays the lead with grounded intensity. His character reacts like a real person would. Confused first, then cautious, then deeply unsettled. The film respects that fear grows from understanding too much, not too little. When it was released, audiences wanted excitement. This film offered discomfort. It asked viewers to sit with ideas that didn't resolve neatly. That made it easy to overlook. Today, it feels sharper, more confident. A reminder that supernatural horror doesn't need spectacle. It just needs the suggestion that something organized, patient, and unseen is operating nearby. Watching it now, the real shock isn't what happens. It's realizing how easily it all blends in. Number 13, Soul Survivor, 1984. Before fate-based horror became popular, this film quietly arrived. Soul Survivor begins with an accident that should have ended everything. One person lives when no one expects them to. That survival becomes the problem. Instead of relief, the story leans into something colder. The sense that the universe noticed a mistake. This is not a loud movie. It doesn't chase the viewer. It follows. The tension comes from repetition. Familiar faces reappear. Locations feel wrong. Conversations seem slightly delayed, like the world is catching up. What makes the film powerful is mood. Long pauses, empty spaces, a constant feeling that something is out of rhythm. The main character starts questioning their own safety, not because of threats, but because survival itself feels temporary. When it came out, it didn't fit neatly anywhere. Too quiet for mainstream horror, too strange for casual viewers. It vanished quickly. But, watching it now, its influence is obvious. Later, films would explore similar ideas with more effects and faster pacing. Soul Survivor did it with patience. It understood that inevitability is scarier than surprise. This isn't about escape, it's about delay. And once that idea settles in, it doesn't let go. Number 12, The Changeling, 1980. This is how a haunted story breathes. The Changeling opens with loss, not shock. Grief hangs over the film like fog. When the main character moves into a quiet old house, nothing dramatic happens at first. And that's the point. Every sound matters. Footsteps, echoes, a door that shouldn't move but does. The film builds dread through stillness. It trusts silence. It lets rooms feel heavy with memory. George C. Scott anchors the film with restraint. His reactions are human, skeptical, measured. He doesn't panic, he listens, and the house responds slowly as if deciding whether to speak. When this film arrived, louder horror dominated theaters. This felt old-fashioned, too serious, too calm, and because of that, it was ignored. Decades later, it feels timeless. No trends, no shortcuts, just atmosphere and patience. The horror doesn't rush to reveal itself. It unfolds like a truth that refuses to stay hidden. This film proves that the most effective supernatural stories don't scream. They whisper until you can't ignore them anymore. Number 11. Hell Night, 1981. Marketed wrong, remembered wrong. At first glance, Hell Night looked like another campus scare film. That assumption buried it, because this isn't about someone chasing anyone. It's about a place that refuses to let go of its past. The story centers on a night inside an old estate filled with rumor and neglect. The building itself becomes the focus. Long hallways, locked rooms, shadows that feel permanent. The film understands that fear doesn't need speed, it needs space. What separates Hell Night from similar films is restraint. The camera lingers. The silence stretches. Instead of constant action, it creates anticipation. Every corner feels like it remembers something. Audiences expected something simple and moved on quickly, but revisiting it now reveals a slow-burning supernatural mood piece hiding beneath mislabeling. This is a film about atmosphere over explanation, about being somewhere you shouldn't be long enough for the place to notice you. Number 10. The Keep, 1983. This film feels like a dream that was interrupted. The Keep arrived during a year crowded with noise, spectacle, and easy thrills. It had none of that. Directed by Michael Mann, this was a supernatural story that refused to explain itself clearly, and audiences were not ready. Set during a historical conflict, the film centers on a massive stone fortress that predates everything around it. When the walls are disturbed, something ancient responds. Not loudly, not immediately, just enough to suggest that some places are not empty, only quiet. What makes The Keep so strange is atmosphere. Man fills the screen with fog, glowing light, and uneasy stillness. Dialogue is sparse. Meaning is implied rather than stated. The music pulses instead of guiding emotions, making scenes feel suspended in time. Behind the scenes, studio interference cut the film down heavily. Entire story threads were removed. What remains feels fragmented, but in a way that strangely works. The gaps make the mystery feel larger. The Keep doesn't hold your hand. It leaves you alone with something vast, old, and quietly watching. Number 9. The Entity, 1982. This is not a comfortable watch, and it never wanted to be. The Entity approaches supernatural horror from an angle most films avoided. Instead of fantasy or spectacle, it treats its story with cold seriousness. The events unfold in ordinary spaces, bedrooms, hallways, places meant to feel safe. The film follows a woman experiencing repeated, unexplained encounters that defy logic. Instead of dismissing her, the story focuses on how institutions react. Experts debate. Equipment is brought in. Explanations fail. What makes the film unsettling is its tone. There is no adventure here, no curiosity, just persistence. The camera stays grounded, almost clinical. The supernatural isn't colorful or theatrical. It's invasive and relentless. When released, many audiences didn't know how to process it. It wasn't entertaining in a traditional sense. It didn't offer relief. That made it easy to push aside. Viewed now, it feels ahead of its time. The film treats fear seriously. It shows how disbelief can be as damaging as the event itself. Number 8. The Company of Wolves, 1984. This is a fairy tale that never learned to behave. Unlike most horror films of the decade, The Company of Wolves doesn't follow rules. It moves like a dream. Scenes bleed into one another. Stories nest inside stories. Reality bends without warning. Inspired by folklore, the film reimagines familiar legends as something darker and more symbolic. Forests feel alive. Villages feel watched. Transformation is suggested rather than shown directly. The visual style is theatrical and surreal. Sets look handcrafted. Costumes feel intentional. Nothing tries to be realistic, and that's the point. The film operates on mood and meaning rather than logic. When it came out, audiences didn't know where to place it. It wasn't fast. It wasn't funny. It wasn't clear. That confusion pushed it aside. Today, it feels bold, confident, willing to be strange. The film trusts viewers to engage emotionally rather than intellectually. Number 7. The Fog, 1980. This is how atmosphere becomes the star. The Fog is built on mood. A small coastal town, a strange mist rolling in, old wrongs waiting to be acknowledged. The story moves slowly, deliberately, letting tension grow naturally. John Carpenter understood that fear works best when it feels earned. Instead of constant action, the film gives us quiet moments, radio broadcasts, empty streets, lights fading into mist. The supernatural elements arrive patiently. There's no rush to explain. The past seeps into the present, carried by the fog itself. Every appearance feels purposeful, not random. When released, it was overshadowed by louder horror films and Carpenter's own bigger titles. It wasn't extreme enough to stand out in a crowded market. But time has been kind to it. The simplicity works. The restraint feels refreshing. The fog itself becomes a character, moving with intention. Number 6. Dead and Buried, 1981. This town smiles too much. Dead and Buried opens like a mystery. A quiet coastal community. Friendly faces. Tourists welcomed warmly. Then strange events begin piling up, each one more unsettling than the last. The film slowly reveals that the town operates on its own rules. Reactions are delayed. Emotions feel rehearsed. The sense of wrongness builds scene by scene. What makes this film effective is patience. It doesn't rush to reveal its core idea. Instead, it lets discomfort accumulate. Conversations linger. Eye contact feels off. The normal becomes suspicious. At the time, audiences struggled to categorize it. It wasn't a typical scare film. It wasn't fast-paced. That made it easy to ignore. Watching it now, the craftsmanship stands out. Practical effects are used carefully. The mystery unfolds with confidence. And when the truth emerges, it reframes everything that came before. Dead and Buried works because it understands that horror doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it welcomes you politely, then quietly closes the door behind you. Number 5. The Gate, 1987. This movie fooled an entire generation on purpose. The Gate looked harmless. Bright cover art, young leads, a suburban setting that felt familiar. Many people assumed it was light entertainment. It wasn't. It was a quiet delivery system for genuine supernatural fear. The story begins with something small, a strange hole in the ground, a few odd sounds, nothing dramatic. But the film understands escalation. Each moment builds on the last. What starts as curiosity becomes dread without warning. What makes The Gate special is perspective. The world feels large and unsafe because the characters experience it that way. Everyday places stop feeling secure. Basements become endless. Shadows gain depth. When it was released, it struggled to find its audience. Too intense for younger viewers. Too playful for adults chasing harder material. That confusion sent it into the background. Time changed everything. Those who saw it young remember it clearly, not because it shocked them, but because it unsettled them. It treated fear seriously, without relying on excess. The Gate proves that supernatural horror doesn't need scale. It needs imagination, and once it gets into your head, it doesn't leave quietly. Number 4. Prince of Darkness, 1987. This is a thinking person's nightmare. John Carpenter didn't want to make another straightforward scare film. With Prince of Darkness, he blended science, mystery, and the unknown into something colder and more unsettling. The film centers on a group of researchers encountering an ancient force that doesn't behave like a traditional threat. It communicates through dreams, through distortion, through information that feels incomplete on purpose. The pacing is deliberate, long discussions, strange recordings, a sense that knowledge itself is dangerous. The film never rushes to clarify. Instead, it allows unease to grow naturally. When it was released, audiences wanted instant payoff. This film asked for patience. That mismatch hurt it badly. Viewed today, it feels ahead of its time. Themes of communication, corrupted signals, and unseen influence resonate far more strongly now. The fear isn't about attack, it's about realization. Prince of Darkness doesn't try to overwhelm you. It quietly destabilizes your sense of certainty. And the final moments don't offer comfort. Number 3. The Sentinel, 1977, rediscovered in the 80s. This film waited for the right decade to be understood. Though released earlier, The Sentinel found its audience during the home video boom of the 1980s. That's when its unsettling power finally landed. The story follows a woman living in a quiet apartment building with a disturbing history, strange neighbors, locked rooms, a sense that the building itself has purpose. What makes the film memorable is its slow reveal. The atmosphere grows heavier, scene by scene. The supporting characters feel exaggerated, almost unreal, as if reality itself is thinning. Audiences expecting a simple scare were caught off guard. The film is symbolic, psychological, willing to disturb rather than entertain. In the 80s, viewers were finally able to discover it privately, without expectations. That's when its reputation grew. The Sentinel works because it commits fully to its idea. It doesn't soften its ending. It doesn't explain away discomfort. Number 2. Angel Heart, 1987. This one hides its horror behind style and mood. Angel Heart presents itself as a mystery, a private investigation, a search for answers, but beneath the surface, something much darker is unfolding. The film drips with atmosphere, ceiling fans turning slowly, heat pressing down, conversations that feel slightly delayed. Everything moves with intention. What sets this film apart is restraint. It trusts the audience to connect the dots. The supernatural elements creep in gradually, hiding behind dialogue and setting rather than effects. When it arrived, controversy and misunderstanding overshadowed its craft. Many missed how carefully it was constructed. Now, it stands as one of the most confident genre blends of the decade. The performances are measured. The pacing is hypnotic. The conclusion recontextualizes everything without shouting. Angel Heart proves that the most effective supernatural stories don't rely on noise, they rely on inevitability, and once the truth becomes clear, the weight of it settles in quietly. Number 1. The Beyond, 1981. This film does not care if you are ready. The Beyond refuses logic, it rejects structure, it operates on atmosphere, imagery, and emotion. Watching it feels less like following a story and more like entering a nightmare that doesn't explain itself. Scenes flow into each other without traditional connection. Locations feel cursed by existence alone. Time seems unstable. When it was released, many dismissed it as confusing. But that confusion is the point. The film understands that fear doesn't need rules. It needs mood. Over time, its reputation grew. Viewers began appreciating its commitment to sensation over explanation. The visuals linger. The music amplifies unease. The ending offers no relief. The Beyond stands as a reminder of what supernatural horror can be when it abandons comfort entirely. It doesn't ask you to understand it. It dares you to experience it. So maybe the real story of the 1980s isn't just about what became famous, but what was left behind. These films didn't explode at the box office. They waited, and decades later, they still feel alive. If one of these surprised you, say so below. Share this with someone who loves finding forgotten gems. And ask yourself this: what other quiet classics are still waiting to be rediscovered?